Commander Jake Morrison rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the screen again. The message had been playing for 3 days straight. Came from a star system so far away that it took the signal over 1,000 years to reach Earth. Someone out there was in trouble. "Play it one more time, Lisa," he told his communications officer. Lieutenant Lisa Grant nodded and pressed the button. The alien voice filled the command center of Terra Prime, Earth's biggest space station. The computer translated the words into English. "We surrender. Please show mercy. Our worlds are defenseless. We seek only peace." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Another peaceful species was being attacked by bullies. Earth had only been part of the Galactic Federation for 5 years. They had already learned that space was full of strong aliens picking on weak ones. "Sir, I'm getting more signals from that area," Lisa said. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. Long-range sensors show huge energy readings. "It looks like a big war is happening." Jake stood up from his chair. His boots made heavy sounds on the metal floor. "Get me Admiral Patricia Hayes right now. We need to help these people." The call went through in seconds. Admiral Hayes appeared. On the main screen, her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her blue eyes looked serious. She was on Earth, in the big military building where all the important decisions were made. "What do you have for me, Jake?" she asked. "Ma'am, we've got a distress call from the Kepler 442 system. Someone is attacking a peaceful species. They're begging for mercy." Jake sent her the signal and the sensor data. "It looks bad." Hayes watched the information appear on her screen. Her face got harder as she read. "How many people live in that system?" "Our computers think about 40 billion, spread across 12 worlds," Jake answered. 40 billion. Hayes was quiet for a moment. Then she looked back at Jake. "You know what we have to do?" Jake nodded. "Yes, ma'am. We can't let this happen again." Earth had learned hard lessons in their short time as part of the galactic community. Too many times they had heard about peaceful species being wiped out by stronger neighbors. The other members of the Federation talked a lot about peace and understanding, but they rarely acted when someone needed help. Humans were different. When someone called for help, humans answered. "I'm calling up the emergency response fleet," Hayes said. "Full deployment. We're going hard and fast." Within an hour, every major military base on Earth and in the solar system was busy. Ships that had been docked for repairs were quickly fixed. Crews that had been on leave were called back. Weapons that had been stored were loaded onto ships. Captain Ryan Murphy walked onto the bridge of his ship, the UES Liberator. It was the newest and most powerful warship that humans had ever built. The ship was so big that it carried 50 smaller fighters and had room for 5,000 Marines. "Status report," Murphy called out as he sat in his command chair. "All systems ready, Captain," said his first officer, Commander Sam Rodriguez. "We've got 11 other heavy cruisers with us, plus 30 destroyers and 20 support ships." Murphy looked at the numbers on his screen. 50,000 Marines, 200 fighter pilots. The biggest fleet that Earth had ever sent into space at one time. "Any word on what we're facing out there?" Murphy asked. Rodriguez pulled up the intelligence report. "Not much, sir. Distress signals are coming from multiple worlds. Someone is attacking them systematically, world by world. The energy readings suggest the attackers have advanced weapons." Murphy felt anger build in his chest. 40 billion innocent people were being slaughtered while he sat here talking about it. How long to get there? "At maximum hyperspace speed, 18 hours, Rodriguez answered. "Too long," Murphy said, "but it's the best we can do." The fleet launched from Earth's orbit in perfect formation. The massive ships moved smoothly through space, their engines glowing bright blue. People on Earth stopped what they were doing too. Watched the ships disappear into hyperspace. What none of the humans knew was that they had completely misunderstood the situation. The signals were not coming from victims of an attack. They were coming from a species called the Zephyrians, who had accidentally found an old human space probe while digging up ancient ruins. The probe was thousands of years old. From back when humans first started exploring space, it had been programmed to guard itself from any aliens who tried to study it. When the Zephyrian scientists found it and started looking at it, the probe thought it was being attacked. The probe started sending out warning signals. It told the Zephyrians to stay away, or it would defend itself. The Zephyrians were peaceful people who had never seen anything like this before. They tried to calm the probe down by sending surrender messages, but the probe was just a machine. It could not understand that the Zephyrians were trying to be friendly. It kept sending stronger and stronger warnings. The Zephyrians kept sending stronger and stronger surrender messages. The old probe had been built during a time when humans expected every alien they met to be an enemy. It was programmed to call for help if aliens tried to capture it. After days of trying to deal with the Zephyrians, it finally sent out its emergency signal. The signal traveled across space for over 1,000 years before it reached Earth. By the time humans heard it, they thought it was a call for help from the aliens, not a call for help against the aliens. Aboard the Liberator, Captain Murphy studied everything they knew about the Kepler 442 system. The planets were beautiful worlds with blue oceans and green lands. Cities could be seen from space. Art and music came from the radio signals. These were clearly peaceful, civilized people. "It makes me sick," Murphy told Rodriguez. "Look at these people. They're artists, scientists, teachers. Someone is destroying them just because they can." Rodriguez nodded. "The whole crew feels the same way, sir. Everyone is ready to fight." And they were ready. The human fleet was armed with the most advanced weapons that Earth could build. Kinetic bombardment systems that could destroy cities from orbit. Marines with armor that could stop almost any weapon. Fighters that were faster and more deadly than anything else in known space. Humans had built these weapons because they had learned that space was dangerous. In 5 short years as members of the Federation, they had seen too many good species destroyed by bad ones. They had promised themselves that they would never let it happen again. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Amy Watson from the communication station. "We're getting more signals from the target system." "Put it on speaker," Murphy ordered. The alien voice filled the bridge. It sounded scared and desperate. "Please, we surrender completely. We mean no harm. We will do whatever you ask. Please show mercy." The bridge crew was silent. Murphy felt his jaw muscles tighten. These people were begging for their lives while their attackers destroyed their worlds. "All ships," Murphy announced on the fleet communication system. "You've heard the signals? These people are being murdered while they beg for mercy. We will not let that happen. Prepare for combat operations." Across the fleet, 50,000 Marines checked their weapons and armor. 200 fighter pilots reviewed their attack plans. Ship crews ran final tests on their guns and shields. Earth's most powerful military force was about to arrive at Kepler 442, ready to save 40 billion aliens from what they thought was a terrible attack. They had no idea that the attackers were actually the same aliens who were sending the surrender messages. The Zephyrians had called for mercy from an ancient human machine. Instead, they were about to receive a full-scale human military invasion. Captain Ryan Murphy felt the familiar shake as the UES Liberator dropped out of hyperspace. Around his massive warship, 49 other human vessels appeared at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. The stars looked different here, but Murphy was not interested in the view. He was here to save lives. "All ships report ready for combat, Captain," said Commander Sam Rodriguez from his position at the tactical station. The main screen showed dozens of green dots representing the human fleet. Further into the system, red dots marked what they thought were enemy ships. "Give me a full scan of the system," Murphy ordered. "I want to know what we're dealing with." The sensors worked for several minutes. Information that came back made Murphy's blood run cold. 12 beautiful blue and green planets orbited the local star. Each planet showed signs of billions of people living on them. Cities could be seen from space. But something was wrong, Captain. "I'm reading massive energy discharges near the 4th planet," Rodriguez reported. "It looks like orbital bombardment. Someone is attacking the planet from space." Murphy stood up from his command chair. His hands formed fists at his sides. "How many ships are attacking?" "Sensors show approximately 30 enemy vessels concentrated around Planet 4. Smaller groups are spread throughout the system." Rodriguez paused to check his readings again. "Sir, these energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. Whoever these attackers are, They have technology we've never seen before. What the humans could not know was that the enemy ships were actually Zephyrian research vessels and their protective escorts. The strange energy signatures came from their attempts to safely shut down the ancient human probe. The Zephyrians were using cutting tools and containment fields, trying to deactivate the dangerous machine without setting off its weapons. "Open a channel to all ships," Murphy commanded. His voice carried clearly throughout the bridge. "This is Captain Murphy to all vessels. We are looking at the systematic destruction of an innocent civilization. These people called for help, and we answered. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you attack defenseless worlds while humans are watching." Admiral Patricia Hayes was aboard the command ship U.S. Retribution, the largest vessel in the fleet. Her ship carried the most powerful weapons and the most advanced sensors. From her position in the center of the fleet, she could coordinate the entire battle. "All units, this is Admiral Hayes." Her voice reached every ship in the fleet. "Intelligence suggests the enemy has been attacking these worlds for days. Millions may already be dead. We go in fast and hard. No mercy to those who show no mercy to others." The human fleet began to move toward the inner system. Their ships were built for war, designed by a species that had been fighting each other for thousands of years before reaching space. Every human warship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Together, they could wipe out entire planets. Lieutenant Amy Watson sat in the cockpit of her fighter, checking her weapons systems one final time. She commanded a squadron of 12 fighters, all launched from the UES Liberator. Her wingman was Lieutenant Bobby Carter, a pilot she had flown with for 3 years. "Red Squadron, this is Red Leader." Watson spoke into her radio. "We're going in first to clear the way for the main fleet. Remember, these people have been under attack for days. The enemy probably has fighters and defense platforms ready." "Red 2, ready to go," Carter replied. "These alien bullies picked the wrong species to mess with." Watson's squadron was not alone. Fighter squadrons launched from every human ship until the space around the fleet was filled with small, deadly craft. 200 fighters formed up in perfect attack formation, ready to sweep away any resistance. The Zephyrians watched the approaching human fleet with growing terror. Their ships were designed for exploration and research, not for fighting wars. The largest Deathworlder vessel was about the same size as a human destroyer, but it carried scientific equipment instead of weapons. On the bridge of the Zephyrian research ship Harmony's Dream, Captain Viridian stared at the sensor readings. The human fleet was massive, beyond anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Each ship bristled with weapon systems that could destroy their entire vessel with a single shot. "Send another surrender message," Viridian ordered his communications officer. "Tell them we submit to their authority completely. We'll do anything they ask." "Message sent on all frequencies, Captain," the officer replied. "But I don't think they understand our language very well. The translation systems are having trouble." What the Zephyrians did not know was that their surrender messages were being received by the humans. But the humans thought the messages were coming from the victims on the planets below, not from the ships in space. Every surrender message made the humans more angry, more determined to save the innocent aliens who were begging for mercy. The human fleet continued its advance. The massive ships moved in perfect formation, like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. Their engines glowed bright blue as they accelerated toward combat speed. "Sir, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the enemy ships," reported the communications officer on the Liberator. "What are they saying?" Murphy asked. "It's the same surrender message we've been hearing for days. They're begging for mercy and saying they're defenseless." The officer looked confused. "But sir, why would attacking ships be claiming they're defenseless?" Murphy thought about this for a moment. "Psychological warfare," he decided. "They're trying to make us feel sorry for them. It's a trick to get us to lower our guard." Rodriguez nodded in agreement. "Makes sense, sir. Attack the innocent, then claim to be innocent yourself when someone shows up to stop you." This made Murphy even more angry. Not only were these aliens murdering billions of peaceful people, they were now trying to trick the rescuers into backing down. It was the kind of evil that made Murphy glad to be human. Humans might be violent, but they used their violence to protect those who could not protect themselves. All ships, battle speed, Murphy ordered. Launch all fighters. Prepare. For immediate engagement, the human fleet spread out into attack formation. The heavy cruisers moved to the center, their massive guns ready to fire. The destroyers took positions on the flanks, ready to chase down any enemy ships that tried to escape. The support ships stayed back, protected by the warships, but ready to help with rescue operations once the fighting was over. Lieutenant Watson led her fighter squadron toward the first group of Zephyrian ships. Her sensors showed that the alien vessels were not moving to intercept her fighters. Instead, they seemed to be backing away from the advancing humans. Red 2, are you seeing this? Watson asked Carter over the radio. Yeah, Red Leader. These guys are running before we even get close. Maybe they're not as tough as their energy reading suggested. Stay alert, Watson warned. Could be a trap. The Zephyrian ships were trying to get away from the humans because they were terrified. Their crews had never seen warships like the human vessels. Zephyrians had been at peace for over 1,000 years. They had forgotten what military ships even looked like. On Planet 4, the Zephyrian ground crews working around the ancient human probe detected the approaching fleet. They immediately sent messages to their ships asking what was happening. Unknown. Warships are approaching the system, came the reply from space. Massive fleet with weapons we cannot identify. We are trying to surrender, but they are not responding to our messages. The ground crews looked at each other with growing fear. They had been trying for days to safely shut down the human probe. Now it seemed that more humans were coming. But these were not the ancient humans who had built the probe. Modern humans with modern weapons. Keep working on the machine, ordered the chief scientist, a Zephyrian named Quillen. If we can shut it down, maybe the approaching ships will understand that we mean no harm. But the probe had been programmed by humans who expected every alien contact to be hostile. The more the Zephyrians tried to deactivate it, the more aggressive its signals became. And now those signals were about to bring the full force of human military might down on the peaceful Zephyrian worlds. Admiral Hayes watched the tactical display from her command ship. The human fleet was now within weapons range of the first enemy vessels. Her finger hovered over the button that would begin the attack. All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. We are humanity's sword and shield. Today we remind the galaxy why no one attacks the innocent while humans are watching. All units. Weapons free. Save those people. The first human weapons fired at exactly 14:32 ship time. Admiral Hayes gave the order, and 12 heavy cruisers opened fire at the same moment. Streams of bright energy crossed the darkness of space, aimed at what the humans believed were an enemy. Warships, the Zephyrian ship Peaceful Explorer took the first hit. Its shields, designed to protect against space debris and radiation, lasted exactly 3 seconds against human military weapons. The ship broke apart in a flash of light and metal. Direct hit on enemy vessel, reported Commander Rodriguez from the Liberator. Target destroyed. Captain Murphy watched the explosion on his main screen. He felt no joy at the destruction. Every second this battle continued, more innocent people on the planets below were dying. Continue firing. All ships. Press the attack. The human fleet moved forward like a storm of metal and energy. Their weapons had been built to fight other human ships, which meant they were far more powerful than anything most alien species had ever seen. Humans had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. Now they used that deadly skill to protect others. Lieutenant Amy Watson led her fighter squadron through the wreckage of the first Zephyrian ship. Her sensors detected no escape pods, no survivors. The alien ship had been completely destroyed. Red Squadron continued to target coordinates. She ordered her pilots, enemy ships are scattering. Don't let them regroup. But the Zephyrian ships were not scattering to regroup. They were running away in pure terror, as the crews had never seen weapons like the ones the humans were using. Many of the Zephyrian ships were research vessels with families aboard. Scientists had brought their children on what was supposed to be a peaceful archaeological dig. On the Zephyrian ship, scientific Hope, Captain Arya watched her sensor screen in horror. The human fighters were chasing down her unarmed research vessels one by one. Her ship carried 43 scientists and their families, including 12 children under the age of 10. "Send another surrender message," she ordered desperately. "Tell them we have children aboard. Tell them we surrender completely." The message reached Lieutenant Watson's fighter. Her computer translated it quickly. "We surrender. Children aboard. Please show mercy." Watson felt sick to her stomach. "Red 2, did you hear that transmission?" "Yeah, Red Leader," replied Bobby Carter. "These monsters are using children as human shields. Makes me want to blast them even more." Watson gritted her teeth. She had seen this tactic before in human wars. Evil people would put innocent civilians in harm's way, hoping their enemies would hesitate to fight back. It was one of the most cowardly things anyone could do. All Red Squadron pilots maintain attack. Can't let them use innocents to escape justice. Scientific Hope tried to run, but human fighters were much faster than Zephyrian research. Ships Watson's squadron caught up to the fleeing vessel within minutes. Their weapons locked onto the ship's engines. "This is for all the children you've already killed," Watson said, as she pressed the firing button. The Scientific Hope's engines exploded, leaving the ship drifting helplessly in space. Watson could see the ship was badly damaged but still intact. The people inside were probably still alive. "Red Leader to Liberator," Watson called. "Enemy research ship disabled. Detecting life signs aboard. Good work, Red Squadron," came Murphy's reply. "Marine boarding teams are on the way. We'll get those children to safety." What neither Watson nor Murphy understood was that the children aboard the Scientific Hope were Zephyrian children, not human prisoners. The enemy research ship was actually a peaceful science vessel that had been studying ancient ruins when they accidentally found the human probe. Meanwhile, on the surface of Planet 4, the human marine assault had begun. Colonel Danny Torres led the first wave of dropships toward what intelligence had marked as enemy military bases. The ships descended through the planet's atmosphere like falling stars, their heat shields glowing bright red. "Remember, people," Torres told his Marines over the radio, "these aliens have been terrorizing innocent civilians for days. Expect heavy resistance and possible civilian shields." Major Kate Williams, the intelligence officer, reviewed the target list one more time. "Primary targets are the command bunkers marked in red on your maps. Intelligence suggests the enemy has been systematically destroying cultural sites and civilian infrastructure." The dropships landed in a cloud of dust and steam. 5,000 Marines poured out, their armor gleaming in the alien sun. They moved quickly toward their targets, expecting to find heavily defended military positions. Sergeant Tony Martinez led his squad toward what the computers had labeled as Enemy Command, Bunker Alpha. The building was large and made of white stone. It did not look like a military base. There were no walls, no guard towers, no weapons that Martinez could see. "Sarge, this doesn't look like a bunker," said Corporal Betty Davis. She was the squad's demolition expert, trained to blow up enemy fortifications. "It looks more like a ... museum." Martinez checked his scanner. The readings matched the intelligence reports. This was supposed to be a major enemy stronghold. "Orders are orders, Davis. We go in hard and fast." The Marines kicked down the front door and rushed inside, expecting to face enemy soldiers. Instead, they found themselves in a vast hall filled with display cases. Ancient artifacts from dozens of different worlds lined the walls. Holographic displays showed the history of various alien civilizations. "What the hell?" Martinez muttered. He moved deeper into the building, his weapon ready. The squad followed, equally confused. In the next room, they found a group of Zephyrians huddled in the corner. There were about 20 of them, all wearing simple robes. It looked like teachers or scientists, not soldiers. When they saw the armed humans, they immediately fell to their knees and raised their hands. "Please don't hurt us," one of them said in heavily accented English. "We surrender. We're just archaeologists." Martinez kept his weapon pointed at them, but doubt was growing in his mind. "Where are your weapons? Where are your soldiers?" The Zephyrians looked confused. "Weapons? We have no weapons. We are scientists. We study the past. Corporal Davis walked over to one of the display cases. Inside was what looked like an ancient book, its pages yellowed with age. Sarge, I don't think this is a military base. This stuff looks like it belongs in a university. Control! This is Martinez, the sergeant called on his radio. Something's not right here. This place is full of scientists and old artifacts. No weapons, no soldiers. The response came quickly from Colonel Torres. Martinez intelligence confirms that's a major enemy installation. These could be enemy intelligence officers disguised as civilians. Martinez looked at the frightened Zephyrians. Again, they certainly did not look like intelligence officers. They looked like teachers who had been caught in the middle of a war they did not understand. Similar scenes were playing out across the planet. Human Marines were kicking down the doors of libraries, museums, and research centers. Instead of finding military targets, they found scientists, artists, and students who immediately surrendered and begged for mercy. At the main archaeological site, where the human probe had been discovered, Dr. Quillen watched in despair as human drop. Ships surrounded his dig site. He and his team had been working around the clock to safely deactivate the ancient machine. They were so close to success. Doctor, the Deathworlders have arrived, his assistant said, using the Zephyrian term for humans. Their warriors are surrounding the excavation site. Quillen looked at the ancient human probe. It was still sending out its aggressive signals, calling for help that had now arrived in the form of a full-scale invasion. The irony was almost too much to bear. Keep working. He told his team, if we can shut down their machine, maybe we can make them understand that this is all a mistake. But it was too late for explanations. Human Marines were already moving toward the dig site, their weapons ready. They had been told that this was where the enemy was torturing and killing innocent civilians. They came ready to fight a battle. To save lives, Captain Murphy watched the battle reports come in from his position on the Liberator. His fleet had destroyed or disabled most of the enemy ships with minimal losses. His Marines were securing key positions on the planet's surface. By all accounts, the mission was going perfectly. Rowe called Communications Officer Lisa Grant. We're receiving surrender transmissions from multiple enemy positions. They all claim to be unarmed civilians. Murphy shook his head in disgust. Same trick they've been using since we got here. Tell our people to be careful. These aliens will say anything to avoid facing justice for what they've done. But the truth was becoming harder to ignore. Every enemy position the Marines captured turned out to be a school, library, or research center. Every enemy soldier they found was actually a scientist or teacher, and every military installation was filled with books, art, and scientific equipment rather than weapons. The great human rescue mission was turning into something else entirely. But it would take time for anyone to realize that they were not. Saving the Zephyrians from their enemies, they were the enemies the Zephyrians feared most. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. While human Marines were securing what they thought were enemy positions across Zephyria Prime, a young alien scientist named Harmony had been working desperately in her small laboratory. A xenolinguist, someone who studied alien languages and cultures. For 3 months, ever since her people had found this strange human machine, Harmony had been studying everything she could about human civilization. She had learned their languages, read their history, and tried to understand how their minds worked. Now she realized that understanding might be the only thing that could save her people. Harmony activated her laboratory's communication system and began broadcasting on all human military frequencies. Her hands shook as she spoke, but her English was clear and careful. Please, noble warriors of Earth, this is Dr. Harmony of the Zephyrian Science Council. I must speak with your commanders immediately. There has been a terrible mistake. Message reached the bridge of the U.S. Liberator at 1647 ship time. Captain Murphy was reviewing reports from his Marines on the planet's surface when Communications Officer Lisa Grant called out, "Sir, I'm receiving a direct transmission from the planet. It's in perfect English." Murphy looked up from his reports. For hours, his people had been finding scientists and civilians where they expected to find soldiers and weapons. Something was not adding up. Put it through. Harmony's voice filled the bridge, speaking slowly and clearly so there could be no misunderstanding. Captain Murphy, I know your name because I have studied your people for months. You are here because you received distress signals from our system. But we are not your enemies. We are not attacking anyone. We are the ones who sent those signals. The bridge fell completely silent. Murphy felt a cold feeling growing in his stomach. Explain, he said simply. 3 months ago, our archaeological team found an ancient machine buried on our world. Was very old from your people's early space exploration. When we tried to study it, the machine activated. It began sending warnings, telling us to stay away or it would call for help. Harmony paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. We are a peaceful people, Captain. We have not fought a war in over 1,000 years. When your machine threatened us, we did the only thing we knew how to do. We tried to surrender to it. Murphy's hands gripped the arms of his command chair so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Continue. The machine did not understand our surrender. It kept sending stronger warnings. So we sent stronger surrender messages. For days we tried to tell your ancient guardian that we meant no harm. It was just a machine. It could not understand peace. The full horror of the situation began to dawn on Murphy. The distress calls were not from us asking for your help, Harmony finished. They were from us trying to surrender to your own technology. The machine finally called for help, and you answered, but Captain, we are not invading your probe. We've been trying to shut it down safely so we could return it to you. Commander Rodriguez spoke up from his position at the tactical station. His voice was barely a whisper. Sir, if that's true, then we just invaded a peaceful civilization that was trying to give us back our own property, Murphy finished. He felt sick. Admiral Hayes called an emergency conference within minutes. The senior commanders of the human fleet gathered virtually. While their ships continued to hold position around the Zephyrian worlds, Hayes appeared on the main screen of every ship, her face grim. Report, she ordered simply. Captain Murphy spoke first. Ma'am, I believe we have made a catastrophic error. The Zephyrians appear to be telling the truth. They're not aggressors. They're archaeologists who found one of our old probes. Colonel Torres joined the conference from the planet's surface. His armor was dusty from moving through the Zephyrian. Dig sites. Admiral, my Marines have secured 17 targets across the planet. Every single one was a civilian facility. Museums, libraries, schools, research centers. We have found 0 military installations and 0 weapons. Added her intelligence assessment. Ma'am, we've been analyzing the sites the aliens were attacking. They're all archaeological dig sites. The energy readings we detected were from scientific equipment, not weapons. Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked the question. Everyone was dreading casualties. Rodriguez checked the reports coming in from across the system. Minimal, thank God. 3 Zephyrian ships destroyed, approximately 40 dead. Several hundred injuries from panic during evacuations, no combat deaths because, double quotes, because they never fought back. Not once. They never fought back. Hayes repeated slowly. We attacked them with the most powerful military force in human history, and they never fired a single shot in defense. No, ma'am, Torres confirmed from the surface. Every position surrendered immediately. They've been feeding our Marines, giving them tours of their facilities, and asking if there's anything they can do to make up for the trouble their archaeological dig caused. The silence that followed was deafening. 50,000 human military personnel had just invaded a peaceful civilization that had been trying to return lost human property. The aliens had responded to this invasion by offering to cook meals for the invaders. Dr. Harmony's voice came through the communication. System again? Captain Murphy, are you still there? I'm here, Dr. Murphy replied. His voice sounded tired and old. I want you to know that we do not blame you or your people. You came here because you thought someone needed help. That makes you good people, even if you were mistaken about who needed helping. Murphy closed his eyes. Doctor, my people have destroyed 3 of your ships and killed 40 of your people because we misunderstood a situation. And how many of your people were willing to travel across the galaxy and risk their lives to save strangers? Captain, In all our years of studying galactic civilizations, we have never encountered a species that would do what you have done today. You made a mistake, but you made it for the right reasons. Admiral Hayes took control of the conversation. Dr. Harmony, this is Admiral Hayes, commander of the human fleet. On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I formally apologize for our actions today. We came to help, and instead we have caused harm. How can we make this right, Admiral? You can start by helping us shut down your probe safely. My people have been trying for months, but we don't fully understand your technology. With your help, we can deactivate it and end this crisis. Hayes nodded. Consider it done. Captain Murphy, take a technical team down to the probe site immediately. Colonel Torres, your Marines are to provide full support to the Zephyrian scientists. Yes, ma'am, both officers replied. As the orders were being carried out, Murphy found himself thinking about the implications of what had happened. Humanity had just made first contact with a peaceful alien species by accidentally invading them. But instead of demanding revenge or compensation, the aliens were offering forgiveness and asking for help with a human machine. Dr. Harmony, Murphy said, why are you being so kind to us? We attacked you. We killed your people. Harmony was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was gentle. Captain, you came here because you heard someone calling for help and you answered. In our culture, that makes you heroes, not villains. The fact that there was a misunderstanding does not change the goodness of your intentions. She paused, then continued. Besides, we have been studying human history. We know that your people have spent thousands of years fighting wars and conquering each other. But today, you used all that military power not to conquer or destroy, but to try to save lives. That tells us everything we need to know about who you really are. Murphy felt tears forming in his eyes. Humanity's first contact with a peaceful alien species had nearly been a disaster. But it was being saved by the wisdom and kindness of the very people they had attacked. Admiral Murphy said, I request permission to personally lead the team that shuts down our probe. Permission granted, Captain. And Murphy. Yes, ma'am. Make sure we do this right. Captain Ryan Murphy stood at the edge of the archaeological dig site on Zephyria Prime, looking down at the ancient human probe that had caused so much trouble. The machine was about the size of a small car, covered in metal that had somehow survived thousands of years in the alien soil. It still hummed with energy, still sending out its aggressive warning signals to anyone who came too close. Dr. Quillen, the lead Zephyrian archaeologist, walked up beside him. The alien scientist was tall and thin, with large eyes that seemed to hold great wisdom. Despite everything that had happened, he smiled when he saw Murphy. Captain, thank you for coming down personally. Your technical people have been very helpful. I think we can shut down your Guardian machine within the hour. Murphy nodded, but he still felt terrible about what his people had done. I want you to know that humanity will pay for the damage we caused. Ships we destroyed, the people who died, the fear we brought to your worlds. It's all our responsibility. Quillen placed a gentle hand on Murphy's shoulder. Captain, you came. Here to save lives? The fact that you misunderstood the situation does not change the goodness in your heart. My people see this clearly. Round them, human technicians worked alongside Zephyrian scientists to safely deactivate the probe. Lieutenant Commander Janet Brooks, the fleet's top technical expert, is carefully removing power cells from the ancient device. While Dr. Harmony translated the machine's programming languages, the probe's artificial mind is very simple, Harmony explained to Brooks, was programmed to expect hostility from any alien contact. When we tried to study it peacefully, it interpreted our scientific instruments as weapons. Brooks shook, her head in amazement. This thing is over 3,000 years old. Back then, humans expected every alien we met to be an enemy. We built our early space technology to be paranoid and aggressive, and yet today, those same humans traveled across the galaxy to save strangers, Harmony replied. Your species has grown much wiser. The work continued through the afternoon. As the probe systems were gradually shut down, its warning signals grew weaker and weaker. Finally, with a soft electronic sigh, the ancient machine went quiet for the first time in months. It's done, Brooks announced. The probe is completely deactivated. A cheer went up from both the human and Zephyrian workers. Murphy felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The crisis that had brought his fleet across the galaxy was finally over, but the real work was just beginning. Over the following days, Murphy found himself working closely with the Zephyrian government to establish formal diplomatic relations between their species and Earth. The talks were held in the capital city of Zephyria Prime, in a beautiful building made of white stone and filled with artwork from dozens of different worlds. Chancellor Viridian, the leader of the Zephyrian collective, met with Murphy and Admiral Hayes in a room overlooking the city's central park. Through the windows, they could see human Marines and Zephyrian civilians walking together, sharing food and stories despite the language barriers. Admiral Hayes, Captain Murphy, the Chancellor began. The collective has made a decision. We wish to offer Earth a formal alliance. Hayes looked surprised. Chancellor, after what we did to your people, you want to ally with us? Especially because of what you did, Viridian replied. You thought strangers were in danger, so you sent your most powerful military force to help them. Okay. No species in the galaxy has ever done such a thing. Most would have ignored the distress signals entirely. Murphy leaned forward in his chair. But we attacked you. We killed your people. We made a mistake, Viridian acknowledged. But the mistake came from good intentions. Admiral, there are real threats in this galaxy. Species that truly do attack the innocent and destroy peaceful worlds. When those threats arise, we want humans standing with us. The formal alliance was signed 1 week later. Ambassador Ellen Foster arrived from Earth to handle the diplomatic details, but the real work was being done by the military personnel who had stayed behind to help repair the damage from the invasion. Colonel Torres found himself working with Zephyrian engineers to rebuild the research facilities his Marines had damaged. The Zephyrians insisted on upgrading the buildings with new human defensive systems, just in case real enemies ever did attack their worlds. Colonel, your people's military architecture is fascinating, said Engineer Kess as they reviewed building plans. These defensive positions could withstand attacks that would destroy our old buildings. Torres smiled. Well, humans have had a lot of practice building things that can survive wars. I'm glad we can use that knowledge to protect your people instead of fighting them. Lieutenant Amy Watson spent her time training Zephyrian pilots to fly the defensive fighters that Earth was providing as part of the alliance agreement. The aliens were quick learners, though their peaceful nature made it hard for them to think in military terms. Remember, Watson told her students, you're not learning to attack anyone. You're learning to protect your homes and families. There's a big difference. One of her students, a young Zephyrian named Swift, raised his hand. Watson, what? If the enemies also have families, what if they are just confused like you were? Watson paused, considering the question carefully. That's a good question, Swift. The answer is that you try to communicate first, fight second. Always give your enemies a chance to explain themselves before you start shooting. If we had done that, this whole mess could have been avoided. Dr. Alex Barnes, a specialist in ancient human technology, worked with Zephyrian historians to catalog the other human artifacts that had been found throughout their space. It turned out that the probe was not the only piece of old human equipment scattered across the galaxy. Your ancestors sent out hundreds of these exploration devices, Dr. Harmony told Barnes as they examined a collection of human artifacts in the Zephyrian Museum. Most are probably still out there, waiting to be discovered. Barnes nodded thoughtfully. We'll need to create a database of their locations and help other species deal with them safely. Can't have this kind of misunderstanding happening again. The weeks passed. Something wonderful began to happen. The Zephyrian Human Alliance became a model for other peaceful species throughout the galaxy. Word spread of the humans who had traveled across space to help strangers, and of the aliens who had responded to invasion with forgiveness and friendship. Captain Murphy was preparing to return to Earth with most of the fleet when Chancellor Viridian asked for one final meeting. They sat in the same room where the alliance had been signed, but this time they were joined by representatives from 12 other species. Captain Murphy, Admiral Hayes, Viridian began. These representatives come from species throughout this region of the galaxy. They have all heard the story of what happened here, and they wish to join our alliance. An alien that looked like a giant butterfly spoke next. The Kaleri Union wishes to request human protection. We are peaceful traders, but pirates attack our ships regularly. The Galactic Federation does nothing to help us. A being that resembled a walking tree added, the Woodland Collective has the same problems. We grow food for many worlds, but aggressive. Species try to take our farms by force. We need allies who will fight to protect peaceful people. One by one, the alien representatives told similar stories. They were all peaceful species, being bullied by stronger neighbors, and they all wanted the protection that only humans seemed willing to provide. Admiral Hayes looked at Murphy, then back at the assembled aliens. We accept your requests for alliance, but you need to understand something. We don't want to be the galaxy's policemen. We want to teach you to protect yourselves. That's exactly what we hoped you would say, Viridian replied with a smile. 6 months later, Murphy stood on the bridge of the newly christened U.S. Guardian, watching joint training exercises between human warships and vessels from 15 different alien species. The Zephyrians had become humanity's partners in teaching defensive warfare to peaceful civilizations throughout the galaxy. Sir, called Communications Officer Lisa Grant, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Another distress signal has been detected, this time from the Vega system. Murphy smiled. This time they would investigate carefully before sending in the fleet. But if innocent people truly were in danger, they would still respond with overwhelming force. Set course for Vega system, best speed, Murphy ordered, and send a message to our Zephyrian partners. Ask if they want to come along. The combined fleet jumped to hyperspace, ready to face whatever challenges waited for them. The galaxy had learned that humanity's response to cries for help was still massive and overwhelming. But now that response came with wisdom, patience, and the friendship of people who understood that the greatest strength was not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to know when that power should be used. The Zephyrians had called for mercy, and received something far more valuable. They had gained protectors who fought not for conquest or glory, but for the simple belief that no innocent person should suffer, while good people had the power to help them, and across the galaxy. Peaceful species slept a little better, knowing that if they ever truly needed help, the humans and their allies would answer the call.